Welcome back. As I mentioned, we have Eileen Paulin here, who is our Director of Media and Communications, and she kicks off the first of many directors who are going to be here over the next several months, and we're calling it our Director Series. Well, welcome. Very nice to have you.
Good morning. Nice to be back, Lisa.
And, you know, you have given this presentation to a meeting that already had happened. And tell me what the plan is going forward for all the directors.
Well, the plan is that the VMS Board of Directors, who's the advisory board to Village Management Services, and obviously Village Management Services serves all of the mutuals. We make every month a director comes on and makes a department update. It's basically an opportunity to let those people know, and it is an open meeting for board members. So last week's meeting was a full room.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So United, Third, and GRF.
Okay.
And so it's an opportunity to really let them know what the big initiatives are, kind of what what's happening and what we're working on, and then what we're going to start doing is the week following that meeting, that VMS director will come on and give kind of a Reader's Digest, if some people still remember what that is, but the Reader's Digest version of the presentation.
Good, and that's exactly what we're going to do here today. So basically today you're going to go through media and communications and a little bit of broadband. Well, it is part of broadband. So you're giving us a kind of an overview of everything. So before we get into that, though, tell me what the media and communications mission is.
Well, just to establish what we do, which should be obvious, but sometimes the obvious isn't obvious, is we're here to make sure that we have a very well-informed community. And by having a better informed community, we have a better lifestyle. People tend to feel happier if they feel like they know what's going on.
Right.
And then the other big part, which is a combination which happened about 18 months ago, is that broadband and internet, which Paul Ortiz oversees, has come into our group, and it's made a great team. It's built that synergy. So being here in the studio, I'm on home territory.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's good. Now, there's a lot of different work centers that are involved, and they're not all in this building.
There are, and I just like to go through that so people have a good understanding. So the first work center, and from an accounting standpoint, so if somebody goes into the Green Book, which is our business plan for the year, which was mailed to everybody in December, you'll see work centers by number. So this correlates to that. So 10 is what we call Media and Communications Administration. And that is Elise Rothrock, Susan Logan McCracken. That's where I am billed. And we oversee the weekly e-blasts, getting the magazines out, getting the any kind of special messaging. We do all of the flyers and promotions for recreation. We handle overseeing important correspondence. Every day's different, of course. But that's that group, and that's what admin is. And then we have 20, which is the cable TV network, which is in the broadband infrastructure. And as I said, I have to give Paul so much of the credit because he has really jumped in and really has a very good understanding, because we have some major issues there, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Right.
The next two work centers, or three that are under us, are here, the TV studio, bless you, and that's TV6. And a lot of people, I don't know if they understand the broad range of what TV6 does, because it's not just this day, it's not just this. It's helping clubs with programming, which is big. It's doing a lot of special interest programming. And because this is the people's TV station, this group interacts with the residents on a regular basis. So it's not just the morning news, as you can see. And the other big part of it is obtaining the movies. And they've been really good lately. I keep the TV on in my office just so I know what's coming on up here, and it's been really hard just lately not to turn the sound on and get distracted. We've had some great movies. And then Work Center 40 is Media Services, and that is the team of Michelle and John Noel, who sell the advertising, which brings in close to $1 million of revenue every year. So that's very important to GRF.
Absolutely.
And then 50 is Internet Services, and that is our partnership with West Coast Internet. However, our team interacts with them, very, very closely So those are the work centers that make up the whole department.
Right, and like you said, it's good to point it out because like people may see this day every day, but they might not see some of the other things as often.
Exactly.
So they kind of think, oh, it's this day, but it's not.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a lot more.
A lot of other programming.
And it's a lot of editing
departments.
for the clubs. A lot of times the clubs will want to do some sort of a special message. Water conservation's another. We've got a group of residents that are really actively involved in that. And we've got a great team here that does all the editing and makes it look great.
Right. So. Now, recently you guys had some focus groups, and you got a lot of good information.
Well, VMS board asked that we conduct some focus groups, and we did that. It's hard to say last year, but I guess last year is there behind us, and we had 6 different focus groups. I won't go into the whole like science back of it because really what it was designed to do is just to get some really good honest feedback. We used an outside facilitator, and I just wanted to touch on what the main points were.
Right.
And one of the most important points, which we completely understand, is more what I would call out front communication. And I'll talk about that in a minute as well. But the point there is that if we can get things out in front of people before it shows up at a board meeting. So in committee is where many of these decisions are made, and then the recommendation is made to the board. So if we pay attention to when a committee is going to recommend something to a board and start publicizing it then, and then it gives the residents actually more than 28 days. It gives them 2 full months to provide input.
Right.
The next thing is the website, which was very obvious to us. We know that. We know, our website was designed when the village left PCM and went with being self-governed. And it really was started as more of a marketing and branding website. And in the meantime, we've thrown everything at that website we possibly can. And it's not easily searchable. It's difficult for people to get around, and we know that. So that's another thing. Okay. And then this is really important, and this was a really common request, which was a comprehensive all-village calendar. So rather than I have to go here to see what's going on with recreation, I have to go here to see what's going on with my mutual, I have to go here to see, it would be one calendar that would be everything that's going on that day.
Wow.
And forward.
And that will be within the website?
It will be within the website. So we heard everybody on that one, and fortunately we had already put it into our RFP. And the other thing is really something that I think everybody in the village can participate in helping happen, and people want to get to know their neighbors better. And our facilitator made a really, really good point, because one of the attendees had said, you know, I don't know my neighbors, and they moved in 6 months ago, but they don't speak English. That's not their first language. I don't know what to say to them. And she made the point that 98% of communication is action. And her point was, why don't you bake them some cookies or some brownies and just go over and knock on the door? And it's a really, really good point. But we've had discussions now with all of the mutuals about the fact that people are really asking for more activities that are an opportunity to
like
get
a neighborhood
together.
type thing.
Yes, exactly. I think more in a smaller gathering.
And maybe that could be something that the captains do. You know, you've got the captains for disaster preparedness, and they're already prepared.
Absolutely.
So maybe they could help facilitate
And
that.
Thrive has been getting involved in this as well.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, good. So when you say out front communication, what do you actually mean?
Real quickly, I'll use the example of this recent West Coast Internet speed and rate increase. And what we did with that is as soon as we knew that the committee was going to be recommending that to GRF, and it was going to go on to the GRF agenda, usually we would wait until the agenda is out there and it's already in discussion, just because that's been the way things have been working from a governance standpoint. But this time, as soon as we knew that recommendation was going to be made and that it would end up on the GRF agenda, we started publicizing it. And we made sure that there was an easy way for people to get to the staff report, read the staff report if they wanted to, or just look at hit a link to a PDF and look at what was being proposed. And as a result, because we kept hitting on all of our touch points, the breeze, the email, the e-blasts, and here, it went very smoothly.
Oh, good.
And I think it's because it was a logical recommendation, and people saw that.
Okay, good.
So,
and it was across all the different
exactly,
avenues, so.
and that's what we're trying to do. And I've spoken with all of the board presidents, and we really need to pull these things out of the committee knowledge base and get them out in front.
Okay.
So anyway, so as I said right there, it just shows you what we did.
Okay.
And I won't go through the whole thing, but it seemed to work well.
Good.
And that is our commitment for 2023 and going forward, is that we're going to be doing that with all topics.
Now, I know we talked about the focus group and what exactly you guys were doing, but here's some good feedback, which you did already mention, actually, but just kind of break it down a little bit more.
Well, we are working on the website. We've been working on it now for almost a year, and we have all of our responses back from our vendors. It's a big project because technology has changed so much since what was done back in 2015, and there's so much capability that we can utilize that will help the village. So we really have to make sure that we have the right vendors. So we have a website ad hoc committee, which is made up of board members, and our next meeting is to review those RFPs. And obviously we heard the request for the comprehensive calendar, and that's being covered.
Right. Good, good. And then, of course, just to reiterate, I want to know my neighbors better, and that's something that it seems like you're getting the recreation department involved in.
Well, they've heard this call for some time, and I would use the Renaissance Fair and the Santa Paws project, which didn't have a huge turnout, but I'm pretty sure it will next year. Jim Cook, he was born to be Santa Paws, and he's not only that, but he's a pet whisperer. You know, people that did bring their dogs, it was pretty amazing, and just encouraging personal touches and people reaching out.
Okay. So. All right. Excellent. And you know what? And that could be via email. They could pick up the phone. I mean, there's so many ways. And there is an email that they could send information to or questions. It's generalmanager@vmsinc.org.
Right.
And then there's a secondary one too. Is that info@LagunaWoodsVillage.com? Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, let's jump into the cable TV network.
So I wanted to just touch on this because this is very important. We have an excellent team of techs over there, and the reason I can tell you I know they're excellent is because we get so many nice notes and emails about our techs, and it takes time for people to stop and do that. So it really means a lot. But our truck rolls are down, and that's a good thing because it gives our techs more time to work on this aging infrastructure that we have. And part of the reason that they're down is because of the customer service that is being provided over the telephone. And we have a specialist over there, Bailey Kindig, who just does a great job. And if she can help somebody solve their problem and we don't have to send a truck out, it's a cost savings. So that's a good thing. And then the other thing that is something that we just really want people to be aware of is that the cost of cable programming is just literally going through the roof.
Okay.
And that's the way the industry is going because people are trying to get these folks are trying to get out of cable programming and get into streaming direct to consumer. So it's a rising cost, and it's something that we are spending a great deal of time on. This is something Paul and I are working on. Right. And we just want people to know that we are very aware of these rising costs. We feel that we have some solutions in the future, and we're spending a lot of time studying them.
Okay. All right. Good. And, you know, I guess there are a few things that are expiring, which we can look at right here is a few. And is that because they cost too much? No. Every 3 years, most of our contracts are 3-year contracts.
Oh, I see. And depending on when the contract, these are the contracts that are going to be up this year. So we're going to have to be taking a serious look at how much they are, how that affects the budget. But I also want to tell you that ad hoc committee is very aware of paying attention to what the residents need. So what we're looking for is a sweet spot, making people happy so they're getting the programming they need while we work on making ourselves ready for the future with streaming.
So if somebody does that, say, well, I want to cut the cord as they refer to it, but I just want streaming services. Well, as you know, streaming services, if you subscribe to a lot of them, then you're almost right back up there to the same cost.
Oh, absolutely, especially here in the village because the cost is so low. Right. It's a little different for those of us that live out and we're used to paying, a Cox or a Spectrum bill.
Right.
But it is. And so that's another big reason why, we're trying to find this special sweet spot. And in order to do that, the infrastructure here needs to be brought up to speed.
I see.
So that's the big issue that we're facing there.
Okay, excellent. Okay, good. So now let's go ahead and talk about what we plan to do for the future. And I know that you gave us a wonderful overview of what some of the future plans are, but is there something else?
We just have, we've received the second phase study. It's been some months now from the outside consultant that we felt, not we, I should say, the boards felt that we needed to work with. And we're in the middle of looking at really hard and fast, because this is a decision that probably has to be made by the end of 2023.
Yeah.
So we're looking at 3 scenarios. One is, what if we just do nothing? What if we just continue to update it as much as we can and find the old parts? And you know, what's that going to cost us, and what does that look like in the future? That's what we'll be looking at our next meeting. And then the next scenario is maybe the village needs to make a major investment and own this, continue to own this asset, and be able to provide the future service that we need to on a fiber network. And the third is to maybe come into a partnership with somebody where we're actually leasing the system, which we own it right now. You own it, GRF owns it. And maybe we do some sort of a lease agreement. So all of these require a lot of research.
Absolutely.
And that's where we are right now.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate all the information, all the hard work you guys are doing behind the scenes.
Thank you.
To keep us going.
If anyone's interested in knowing more, they can come to the Media and Communications Committee meetings. They're on the 3rd Monday of the month at 1:30. So we have one coming up next week on the 16th.
Perfect.
And we're in the boardroom.
Perfect. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
All right. If you want more information, as I mentioned, you can always send an email to generalmanager@vmsinc.org. That will be sent to the appropriate person. We'll be right back.